governments have been making announcements asking landlords not to collect rents from tenants. While the announcements have been made, there are no orders that have been passed, and there's a lot of confusion out there in the marketplace. And this is a real live situation. So we know that there are problems coming up. To discuss this issue, we have Vinay Matthews, he's the founder and CEO of Faircent, Ashwin Chawla, he's the CEO of Escrofer.com, and Ritika Vaswani, who's a partner with JSA. Thank you for joining us. And let's start with you, Vinay. When we talk about Faircent lending collateral-free loans, what exactly is that, and does it help tenants?
Yeah, so Faircent has always been in the collateral-free loans. It's just that during this time, people are facing a lot of problems in terms of paying out the EMIs, the rentals, all of that. So we decided to launch a new category of loan, which is called anti-lockdown loan. So basically, what this does is that you sign on a loan contract with the lenders who are on our platform, and this loan, the first 3 months you do not have to pay anything. So you can tide over the problem that you have, the crisis that you have in hand, and after 3 months your payment starts to occur. So you can either have the option to bullet payment the entire thing after 3 months, or you can stagger it for 3 months or 6 months of EMI. So that's the loan that we have started off. We are getting a lot of queries for this, a lot of interest amongst a lot of people who are currently in a difficult situation, or a whole lot of them have lost their jobs. Not that these people are not capable of getting another job. They would. Eventually they would, and they will pay back. So that's the idea at which we worked on, and I think we put this out very quickly. And this is up for people who are wanting to kind of tide over these 3 months.
And who can avail of this loan? What is the profile?
So anybody who is above 21 years of age can apply for this loan. Business as well as salary people. On business, you have to have at least 2 years of vintage, and in salary, a minimum of 1 year of work experience. So that's the broad criteria. Basis that we are not looking at any new to credit customers. Which is called NTC customers in the lending parlance. We're looking for customers who have dealt with credit in the past, either through a credit card or some kind of a loan they have taken. So that's about it. We're looking at CIBIL score as low as 600. So it's a whole lot of people could take.
And what's the amount that you would lend?
So the amount is restricted. It starts at 25,000 and it's sealed at 75,000. So this is basically to tide over the next 3 months. This is nothing to do with buying or something. Anyways, you can't buy at this point in time. So the idea is to kind of spend this money to take care of your needs. Basic, if you're pressurized by the landlord for the rent, if you have other essential services to take care of, those are the things you need to kind of address. And 25,000 per month is a good decent amount. One could use to kind of get over this crisis.
And what kind of interest rates do you charge?
See, if you're bulleting it out, the interest rates are very, very low. Otherwise, it depends on the customer segment, the profile of the customer, how risky that customer is varies. So if it's a good customer, it could be a very low interest over a period of 3 months or 6 months. If you are a risky kind of a customer, 600. If you have some kind of a default in the past, not paid some of the EMIs in the past, so then the rate goes up. So it's a priced model wherein you have to price the borrower basis the risk of the borrower.
Okay. Vinay, I'll come back to you for the details of how this loan can be availed, but I'm going to go on to Ashwin. Ashwin, you have been working with tenants for a while, right? Especially in cities like Bangalore, where there was a huge down payment before you could enter into the tenancy agreement. You have helped tenants.
That's right.
So let us understand how you are considering this situation and what are your offerings right now.
In fact, we've been studying the rental market for quite some time now, and what we have realized is that there is now the tech intervention that was required to actually streamline the end-to-end solution for tenants. So we are, we've launched a new product called New Rent, which is in beta stage at the moment. So that actually digitizes the entire journey of the tenant with the landlord, because tenants are always at the receiving end. So I wouldn't say get into lending, as of course Companies like Faircent and Vinay are doing a phenomenal job there. But taking the pain away from the journey. So right from the KYC identification to stamp paper management to your contracting, digital signatures, parking the deposits in the digital escrow account, which of course we do it. We are the only company right now doing digital escrows, and of course the rental receipts, which are again for taxation, becomes a problem for tenants. And then eventually when you decide to renew or you need to vacate the property, the journey doesn't end there. Spending 2 decades in the industry, we realize what kind of pain the tenants go through. And it is extremely important that there has to be a tech intervention if one needs to even vacate the property. So for example, if you see the current times, not everybody can be eligible for loans. For example, some people might lose jobs, they might just want to end the lease agreement. But what kind of lease agreement have you signed as a tenant? That's extremely important. So we take care in terms of drafting and giving those standardized agreements, which actually takes the pain point of the tenants away, and at the same time lends credibility and safety of the deposit, the title and the possession of the property to the landlord as well. But largely it is bent towards easing the problems of the tenants.
So, which segment of the rental market have you worked in? Is it the upper the crust? Is it the mid segment? Have you also worked in the lower segments?
Well, I think that's the attractive part about technology. I mean, you can't control who is getting to use the product. So right from a rental of 25,000 rupees to as high as 1.5 lakhs is what we are working with currently. And we've launched it again in, as the digital stamp papers are not available in every city. But for the time being, it's in Gurgaon and a couple of more cities that we are tying up with as the lockdown is withdrawn. Some sites would go live soon. But Gurgaon, of course, from 25,000 rupees to as high as 1.5 lakh rupees a month. And the entire journey is end to end and it's completely seamless. The suite offering that we have is existing for the entire tenure of the lease. So if it's 11-month lease, which people sign, 100 rupees stamp paper or 500 rupees stamp paper, is of course that's the service that we offer for the entire 11-month period.
So help me understand what you've noticed in the market in this COVID-driven lockdown.
Well, the biggest problem is that the owners are asking for rent and people are not sure about their jobs. The biggest problem for families today is your day-to-day lifestyle. I mean, how do you sustain yourself? People already are running on various EMIs, and it's very difficult to manage the fund management, especially with moratoriums coming in from the government, which of course is a welcome sign. But look at the rental industry. One needs to get an overview before you step into what's good for each side, tenant or landlord. There are 30 million units, in top 8 cities in India, which go into renting every year. Out of which about, I would say, I was just reading an article, about 11 million still remain, vacated because of fear of giving the possession of your property to people. In fact, that has taken the rent up. We were awaiting that the Model Tenancy Act would come into the play, by the government, which was, discussed at 2019, which talks about obviously the rent authority, the rental tribunal, rental court, fast track courts. Those things are still pending. I wish it could be delayed a little longer, because if those things could have come in, the government may have to park a seller saying that application for these 3 months, as they provided a moratorium.
Right. Ritika, we've noticed government
is they need to operate from the.
I'm sorry. Go on. Ashwin, finish what you were saying.
So I'm saying currently it's all about stability for families. That's what I was saying.
Yeah. Okay. Ritika, we've noticed that governments have been making these announcements, but any announcement that impacts, the landlord as well as the tenant monetarily does need to be followed up with a do's and don'ts, the plan of action, and so on. We haven't seen that yet, right?
No, absolutely not. So there was an order that said on 29th March that came out, said that landlords can't force workers to pay salary or pay rent, and then they can't evict them. But there's nothing that followed that. A lot of states have issued advisories, say, try and waive the next 3 months rents. But it's difficult from both sides, as we'll appreciate, even from a landlord's perspective. It could be possible that that's the only income that they are getting in on a monthly basis. So there is nothing that actually has been followed up on any of these laws that have come out, either waiver of rents, eviction of tenants, not firing people. While the government has placed all these orders, there's nothing really that has followed up, and it'll have to be a wait and watch to see whether any action is taken. I just read an article just a short while ago, earlier today, that in the Supreme Court, a petition has been filed by students who were asked to vacate for non-payment of rent. So under this order, so hopefully there will be some relief and some clarity will come that people can request their landlords to at least give them 1 month rent waiver as per the order, if not more.
Right. And that 1 month rent waiver, that 1 month period is already over, right? Or very close to finishing.
That's correct. So if they've already paid, then hopefully it should be that 1 month anytime in the next couple of months. If you get that relief, that'll be much. It'll be a very welcome move to all tenants and people who have to pay that rental income but are not getting their usual income in this time of COVID.
Ritika, there are a few tenants who have got in touch with us. For instance, there was this one tenant who went to the social media, then came to us saying that he has shifted from Mumbai to Delhi. He's taken a house on rent in Delhi, and the RWA is not letting him move in. It's in Gurgaon. So he's unfortunately stuck in his government in a hotel, and he's wondering how he can enforce that. He's paid his rent, he needs to move into his property. What would you suggest there?
So I think he should tell the landlord to intervene with the RWA, because if he has a legal enforceable agreement in place, and if he has been, I see the concern with RWAs today is your quarantine, and if you've traveled just before the lockdown has started, that you could be carrying the infection. But if he's been quarantined in a hotel for 14 days, which is probably the case because we've all been in lockdown for almost a month or more. So he should most definitely reach out to his landlord, and his landlord should intervene with the RWA and permit him to move or give him that month's rent-free occupation. Because if you're not in possession, you technically need not have to pay rent as well.
Okay. Vinay, when somebody wants to take a loan with you, what are the formalities? Is it all online? Is it possible in the COVID lockdown?
Yeah. So first, we need to understand. The loans typically are given out to people who are eligible, and eligibility is a criteria by which there are some certain criteria by which we look at the customer before we onboard these customers. But we have been very open about it. It's not that it's very tight criteria like the way the banks or NBFCs operate. Ours is a little open criteria, and what we believe fundamentally in this is that eventually, after 3 months, after all this crisis is over, people are going to get back to their jobs, or people are going to get back to their lives. All of that, a lot of expenses will get cut down. Okay, for example, traveling, going to the restaurant, all of that will get cut down, and all that money could get diverted to paying off the loans. Now, any crisis like this, when it hits, a lot of people are spending a lot of money to kind of take care of that. And same is the case with end users as well. And people who are living in houses, they have to pay a rent. At the end of the day, when there is an agreement and the landlord is wanting you to pay, you can't really escape that. You have to eventually pay up. You can get a 15-day, a month at best, because at the end of the day, there is a enforceable contract the landlord has. Even if you call it a force majeure, your stuff is in the house, you're living in the house. So it's very difficult, from in the. So that's how we looked at it. Okay, so there is no way that you can escape this. You have to pay out, and you need money to kind of carry out these 3 months. Okay, that's the reason these loans have come out. Now the process or the procedure is completely digital. You need to kind of submit all your documents, basic documents, which is your bank statement, your PAN, all of that you have to submit. Once you have submitted all the documents, we have a lot of integration with a lot of organizations, credit bureau organizations, bank verification agency organizations. So this data goes through all this, integrations, and we pull a lot of other more data. Some data we pick up from the app itself, the location data, geolocation data, where exactly this person is. It becomes easier to kind of go back, and in case the customer is not very prompt in paying, you can always go back to this customer. So currently everybody is locked down, so you pretty much know that person is in their house. You're not picking up loans from anywhere else. So that helps. So all of the data is digitally captured, and after we are satisfied with that, we extend the loan. So the journey is that he does not have to go out anywhere to kind of get this done. Sitting in the comfort of his drawing room or bedroom, he can avail the loans.
Okay. I'm going to take some of the queries that we've started getting. Ravi asks, will student housing get some relief? Students are struggling to hold on to their accommodations in big cities. Now, Ritika, there are two things here. The agreement, normally students tend to pick up a unit and many of them share. So the agreement is in one person's name and many others become the liabilities. They may not have a signed document. Now, one or two of them have gone back to their hometowns, and the remaining ones, one, they have to pay more, and the second is that the lease may not be in their name at all. How do they tackle this?
So everything is digital nowadays, and they can cite that order that the government released on March 29th, which specifically says you can't evict students and laborers, and you can't collect, you have to give a 1 month relief of rent. So what they can do is they can write to their tenant, whoever's name the lease is in. They can collectively write to their landlord and seek a waiver of rent and seek an extension. See, ultimately, you have to be it has to be amicable, and the landlord also has to agree to it, because you have a signed contract in place, and it is in the benefit of the landlord also as well to try and agree to something, because ultimately, as a tenant, you can just stop payment of rent, and if you want to get into a dispute, it'll get into a dispute.
Yeah.
So it would make sense, even from today's perspective, for a landlord also to be accommodating and help people who they can, especially students who, for the next couple of months will not be able to come back, because colleges and educational institutions are going to be one of the last to open.
Yeah.
Will they have to pay? The
So-
ones who are away and who were the original group of tenants, will they have to pay for this period when they have gone away?
So technically, if the lease is in someone's name who's gone away, the landlord can go behind the person whose name it is in. Ultimately, then they have to agree mutually amongst themselves if they should pay. If someone is, can pay. If the landlord does not agree to a full waiver, then maybe they can just kind of share the burden amongst themselves. Because unfortunately, if one of the students could not go back because the lockdown started before he or she could go back home, then it's unfair to that student as well to take the burden of the whole thing. So it would ultimately depend on the sharing of all 4 or 5, the roommates. But if the landlord agrees to full waiver, then no one has to pay. But ultimately, it's all commercial and mutually agreeable. So.
Okay. I'm just going to quickly, for the benefit of our consumers who are logged in, our viewers, the central government had decided to allow employees who were due to vacate their official premises to retain their accommodation for another 75 days until May 31. So central government has allowed employees to continue staying in their premises till May 31. The Noida administration on March 28th passed an order asking landlords to not to collect rent from their worker tenants, that they should collect it only after a month. That month is also drawing to a close. We're still in a lockdown. So, which is why we continue to pick up this issue. The Delhi Chief Minister Arvind Kejriwal on March 29th asked landlords in Delhi not to force their tenants to pay rent for 2 to 3 months. He even went to the extent of saying that the government would pay rent if tenants were unable to do so. Then in Maharashtra, the housing department has asked landlords to postpone rent recovery from tenants for at least 3 months due to the lockdown for the coronavirus. And you know that there has been a lot of discord in Maharashtra around this. Now, this is as far as the residential rent goes. And Ashwin, you also deal in commercial rentals?
Yes, we do.
Now, commercial rentals had a force majeure clause. Does COVID-19 fit into that force majeure?
Well, there are different, discussions going on with regard to force majeure, whether it's an act of God or any kind of, unbearable circumstances for the parties. But I believe, going through, and I've been reading a lot on these kind of litigations over the last 1 month, and people getting uneasy. So there is a difference. So homes, lease is quite different to how the commercial leases happen. Commercially, you've also got maintenance, right, which is quite different to your rental. Now you need to keep the building in, a bit condition, in regard to your gen sets, your cleaning and maintenance and everything. which is quite different to residential. So I believe, in these kind of segments, and especially commercial transactions, one should get a candid, kind of a call. And if I hear or I read correctly, companies like DLF have foregone, the rental for the period, and also dropped down the maintenance by 50%. So my sense, whether it is residential or commercial, is to have a candid chat between the landlord and the tenant, sit over a cup of tea or maybe on a video call or something, find out a solution. And there is another problem that, you can't avoid these 3 months and add up or jack up, over the next 3 months, because that actually increases your liability. And people who cannot pay rental even now, that becomes more tougher for them as they proceed, for the further 3 months. So I think there has to be a staggered plan which should go beyond 3 months.
Ritika, again, as far as the existing contracts go, how should the tenants and landlords renegotiate these contracts?
They should frankly have, like Ashwin said, a mutual discussion and agree to record it in writing, and come to a mutual settlement. Because your force majeure generally doesn't work, won't work for, in this circumstance, won't work for residential contracts, because you are at home and you could probably only claim force majeure when you can't use the premises that has been given to you. Here you are at home, there's a lockdown, you are using the premises and you're enjoying the premises, so you may not be able to enforce clauses like act of God and force majeure for residential contracts. But the best thing would be to have a frank discussion with your landlord and tenant and agree to a mutual settlement and record it. We understand right now things can't be recorded in writing. Send an email, have it recorded, and then you can record it formally later once lockdown is over and everything's in place, or use services like Ashwin's and just record them digitally as well.
Do you see a new category of agreements coming post the COVID, where if we've had a pandemic once, we could always have it another time, an epidemic or a pandemic, and you will have these kind of social distancing norms coming into place again. Do you see? Is there any talk about a new set of agreements?
So people will most definitely look at their force majeure clauses in commercial leases going forward, specifically to see how they can include pandemics, lockdown orders, epidemics going forward. Force majeure is very contractual and has to be, to claim any waiver of rent, even in commercial contracts, it has to be recorded in writing. The law always tells you to go back to your contract. So people will most definitely, and we've seen that a lot of people re-looking at their clauses, and that will be something that people concentrate a lot more on in commercial negotiations and fight on it from both sides to see whether they can get some comfort going forward on pandemics and epidemics.
Vinay, do you see small businesses and SMEs coming to you for loans? Is it the same loan that you spoke about, or there's something different for commercial loans?
No, so the small businesses are going to suffer the most, okay, and they are the ones who need the money the most, because for them, the daily cash flow is very, very important, and that's how they conduct their business. So if you look at any of the areas or markets that you see today, my sense is that 50% of them will churn over the next 1 year. They'll not be able to survive or sustain the business, because the way it's going to get conducted, the way the number of customers is to come, all of that will completely see a different kind of numbers there. So someone, and that's the difficult part as well for an organization like us to assess what will work and what will not work. But the micro small SMEs are the one who need the most the money. They are the ones who are suffering the most. One, they are not able to kind of get that cash flow going, so their house is not in order, so they are not able to kind of get enough money to kind of sustain their house, their livelihoods and all that. So though we are looking at some greenfield projects or greenfield organization, or so greenfield businesses, and we're looking at to fund them, businesses which will never go out of fashion. Those are the ones we're looking at to kind of fund. And clearly, some of the businesses which are looking at to be very, very in the short term and long term, looking at to be very, very difficult to survive, we are taking a view on that. We will not be able to at least lend to those people. But yeah, so there is a lot of demand coming in from business people, small business people, especially people who have small shops and all in the market area.
So for you as a lender, what are the kind of risks that are there, and how do you mitigate them?
See, we don't lend, so our platform is a little different from other NBFCs or banks. We are an NBFC, but a different kind of an NBFC. We are an online, tech-enabled NBFC. It's a different license that we've got to operate this platform. So we have a bunch of lenders on our platform. So these lenders are people like you and me. It's not institutional lenders. These are retail people who have spare money to kind of put out. They are the ones who come and lend on our platform. So we have close to 1.5 lakh lenders on our platform, of which 10,000-15,000 of them periodically come every month to invest. Right now, that number has dropped by 30-40%. We still have close to 8 to 10,000 people coming on every month to lend. So supply side is not a problem for us. Currently, what we're facing is the demand side challenge. Okay, though there are a lot of demand coming in, but not all of them will see through the platform. It's very difficult to kind of get them going and getting them to list on the platform, because we, as I said, there are checks and balances that we do before we end up giving a loan to these people. So the way it works is that, like, for example, if you're a lender on the platform, you're getting in with a lakh of rupees, you don't have to give that lakh of rupees to one borrower. So your lakh of rupees get broken up into small units. So you can invest as small as 500 rupees to one borrower. So like that, your lakh of rupees gets distributed to 200 odd borrowers.
So the risk is spread across many borrowers, right?
This is one. So that is, we call it fractionalization. Yeah. The other option, other mitigation is that we distribute this to a large number of cities. Okay, and we're looking at that as well. So there are cities, there are districts. I think more than 300 districts, around 325 districts, where the corona cases have been less than 10 in number and has been controlled. We're looking at those cities to kind of expand, looking at demand from those cities. There, I think the life is going to, if the self-sustained businesses there, or there are people who are working there, and they are able to kind of, a small organization which is out of that place and self-sustaining, I think those people are doing well. Then this life is normal there. So there you can extend the loan. So we're calling that non-coronavirus area loans. So those are the areas that we're looking at to address. So that also helps lenders. So for example, if you're mitigating it, so there's no concentration risk in one particular city. Let's say if you had just operating out of Delhi or out of Mumbai, it would have been really bad at this point, because the limitation to which you could lend in a place like Indore or Pune right now is very, very difficult. It's very, very constrained right now. So it always helps to kind of have that, so we lend out to more than 400 odd cities in the country. So that helps in terms of mitigating the concentration risk. Third is different kinds of loan products we have. We have, daily loans. We have, lockdown loans, anti-lockdown loans, as I said. We have, student loans. We do a lot of online. Online is another thing that has come up in the last, couple of months, and it suddenly peaked during this time. A lot of kids are taking online exams, online tests, online, courses to enhance their skills. So that loan segment also has grown substantially. So yeah, so people are looking at various options and lenders also gets, different kinds of options. And anti-lockdown loan is one of those options. And clearly, I think one of the very clear agenda of that loan is to make sure, and rent is a big component within that. A daily on a monthly expense, rent becomes a very big component. So yeah, so I think the panel pointed out very correctly. It is very difficult to let it go if you're living in your house. The landlord will come back, ask you for that rent. Maybe he can defer it for the next month or the months after that. But you're living there, if you're staying there, it's very difficult to not pay because you're bound by the contract. So it will come and bite you. So you have to kind of make sure that the only option left with you is to at least the ones at least we can impress upon can come take a loan from us, and you can tide over these 3 months.
We've got some queries here. I'm going to pick those up. There's Sunny Jolly who says waiver of electricity and water charges from government can help in this situation. It will not affect the landlord or tenant as well. That's just a comment. Any of you want to comment on that? Ritika?
That would be the best ideal scenario, but a lot of places where they have made where a lot of retail people or commercials have made requests to the various utility companies, I don't believe they have been given a waiver as yet. So I don't think that's also very practical. It's the best solution, but I'm not sure how practical it would be in the long run.
Right.
See, also you have to understand, a lot of people are trying to take advantage of the situation. Okay? So you have to be very clear. If you're using the services and if you're using the whatever, if you're drinking water in the last 24, last 24 days, if you drank water, and you're asking for a discount on that, it's ridiculous. Also electricity for that matter. If you're using the services, then you should not be asking.
Yeah, the waiver is
Consumer
more.
about it, you
Yeah,
drop the, drop everything, cut the electricity, use very little of it, and save the bill. Also, the view on the moratorium. This moratorium is not for the borrowers. A lot of people have this misunderstanding. Okay, this is not for the borrowers. This moratorium is for the lenders. Okay, the banks and NBFCs have been given another additional 90 days to report, the cases to be default. That's it. So this is not a provision to the or a huck given to the borrower that he can say that I've been deferred by 90 days. He needs to pay. If the lender says that you have to pay, you have to pay. And as per the contract, he has to pay. The moratorium is something that the lender will decide, okay, he's stuck with this problem, he's lost his job, so let me move it for 3 months. And he can give a waiver of 3 months or 2 months or whatever. So, but it's not something that the borrower can exercise. Similarly, I think in these things also, whatever if you think that has to be paid, has to be paid. Something which is not to be paid, you need to take a loan and take care of it.
I think it is absolutely right, because tomorrow, the essentials, including vegetables, I mean, people for what, there's veggies, they can't be free, right?
Yeah.
Whatever you're eating, it has to be paid.
You avail of a service, you have to pay it. What can happen today is that
Right.
There is a deferment of the payment. You're able to pay, or you take a loan, and that's where the company is providing easy loans, right?
And this is basic economics, right? So if you're trying to kind of make one part of it completely go away, and the other part is benefiting out of it, it's not economics. So I don't believe that. So I think the important part is that I think whatever that you're consuming, or you're using, I think you should end up paying. If you think you're not, so for example, there's a shop, and if you're not able to go to that shop because of the government's order not to kind of get out of your home, and you cannot operate the shop, that's fine. You can claim for that. It's legitimate to claim. Because you lost that opportunity to kind of make money.
True.
So rest of all, I think you should, either take a loan and pay, or just pay.
Yeah. I'll quickly go through the other queries. In Mumbai, Ravi says in Mumbai you have so many restrictions when it comes to tenancy agreements. You have to get it linked to Aadhaar, etc. With the lockdown in force, how does the extension of leases take place? Ritika, you want to take that?
So like we said, right now, if you have just a contract, an email also with your landlord, it should be fine if you're extending it, or if you are just, amending the terms for a 2-month waiver, 2-month rent free. And the minute the lockdown is over, you can record it in writing. It is supposed to be recorded in writing. It's supposed to be linked to your Aadhaar. But right now, since that facility may not be available, just record it in writing, get an email exchange, and then you can always record it formally later.
There's
I think to add to Ritika, I had a point that our platform now is integrated with the DigiLocker, the government DigiLocker. So any kind of authorization, anything can be verified in no time. And the lease extension is, as I said earlier, it's completely digital, and that's the reason that we've launched in these times. So
I feel that Digital India movement, where all of us moved online, seems to have worked very well, which is why there's been a very high level of efficiency in dealing with the lockdown period, right?
Absolutely right. Absolutely.
There's Preetika who says, what is the rate of interest companies like Escrow charge, and how does one get this loan? You want to take that, Ashwin?
I think the question is for Vinay, not for me. So Vinay,
also help people understand how you help them with the your what do you call them, the deposit rates.
Right. So let me just leave the question on the interest rate, Vinay. But as far as tenants are concerned, and before I get down to our services, please understand, if you're a tenant or a landlord, that you're in the same boat, right? It's the same problem. Imagine, landlord has given a property on lease, and of course the program is for easing rentals of tenants. But of course, let's understand that the owners also are in the same boat as you, and they're also short of funds at some stage of time.
They must be paying for their property as well.
They're running through a pain point. I imagine the taxes, the house tax or a commercial tax, not a moratorium there. The maintenance, if at all, has to be paid by the landlord and not by the tenant. So that problem again continues. But to answer that question, right from depositing, the security deposit to the monthly rental, they can all pass through a digital escrow account, which is seamless. And the verification obviously is no problem, because the government machinery is all integrated onto the platform. Plus, we also help with a standardized contract, which talks about do's and don'ts from each side, gives you adequate protection as a tenant. Nobody can, especially in these times like COVID and other things that may come in future, your rights are secured. You can continue to be in possession. And then, depending on how the government translates or formulates a strategy, especially about the Model Tenancy Act that it's coming in, in a few months from now, I believe things would be much better for both sides. So as far as tenants go, the biggest issue is to refund the deposit. And we have formulated a process through our platform where the owner will deposit the security deposit in the digital escrow account. And based on, what are the maintenance of the apartment, final reviewing before he exits, there is a no due certificate that gets signed digitally and the account gets settled through the escrow. So you don't need to, and this can be done remotely as well. So there's no physical requirement, at all to meet over somebody. And it's quite embarrassing if you ask me, being in real estate as a tenant, how do you go to your owner and landlord and you tell them, no, I'd like to vacate the property before time, or even while the lease is ending. And then, it's so human thing is quite, through technology, you can resolve those issues, get on a video call like this, speak to him, and it's all digital. Even the notices are all through the platform, it goes digital. One has to accept it officially and then provide an exit clause after duly, refunding the security deposit.
Vinay, you want to take that query about the interest rates? How much does one pay to avail of your loan vis-a-vis, say, going to a bank? How does one choose to go to one or the other?
So let me just clarify that. So we don't typically do a whole lot of customers which banks would pick up, or banks customers. So let's assume that all of us are banks customers. None of us would need a loan right now. Okay, so we are well guarded and protected from that point of view. We reach out to people who typically are not serviced by banks, large banks. Some of the NBFCs do that. That's right. But even if it is banks or NBFCs, none of them are lending right now. Okay? So they are completely off the, especially something which you're considering that this person will get a job or might lose a job, and will get another one in the due course. Nobody is thinking on those lines and putting it up. So as I said, interest rates depends on the individual's ability, stability, and intention. Okay, these are three parameters to which we...
Give me a band so that consumers understand what rate.
So the band can be as low as 12%, which no HDFC bank can manage or challenge, and can be high as 24 to 26%. So it can vary, and it varies primarily because the borrower is of that risk type. That's the reason the interest rate varies. Someone who is a bank's customer, we can offer them as low as 12%. And as I said, if you take a bulleted option, so the fee is very, very less. Okay, you can avail of that option and you can tie it to 3 months. So the idea is to kind of get this going and have
what
this.
Is less? When you say if a bulleted option, it's very little. How less is less?
So I think that will be some 1 or 2 or 3%. Okay, so it's very less. So the idea here is not to so the idea is to kind of make sure that the lenders are protected with the interest rates in case if the customer is taking 3 months or 6 months EMI. Okay? Because if he's doing a bulleted payment, the lender is not losing money; he's getting his money back. So a couple of percentage in 2-3 months time is okay for the lenders, because he's looking at it more from helping people out rather than making money out of the situation. He has a lot of other loans going to make money. So there are enough and more loans on the platform for people to kind of make money. So as I said, there is education, there is other consumption loans also. Some of it is basically on the essential services. A lot of SMEs are taking loans today, small kirana shops and all. So they can give out loans to them. But for people who are looking at to kind of salvage their or tide through these 3 months, especially for rental payouts and all that, I think it makes sense to kind of take this loan and quickly pay this out in the next 3 months once things are settled. Because in a couple of months, I think this will get settled. Okay? It looks very bleak right now, but I think in a couple of months this should look better, because the cases within the city will get the cities are going to get locked down, and the hotspot cities are going to, and people are going to work within those districts. And those districts, once the cases starts to go down, I think we are good, and we should back. Today, what's happening is that this is put onto the industries or people who are running the businesses. It's put onto them. So if something happens at their premises, So there will be an FIR against the owner. Okay? So that's the way it has been, put out. So it becomes very, very difficult and very risky for the even owner to kind of open the office right now.
Right.
So I think in a couple of months this should get fixed.
Sure. We've got Mohit Sharma of Mumbai who says, do you think rental spaces will see a hike in demand owing to more and more companies going for affordable real estate? I think that's prospective. Anyone wants to take that query?
Happy to answer that. Rental has always been a growing market because if you see, the world is now moving to on-demand economy, and people, especially within in upwards of 50 or 60 years of age, have decided, and youngsters, especially millennials, prefer renting rather than owning properties. If you see old times, the biggest choice for a bride or a groom was that the groom should have actually a house of his own. That was the biggest, rather than a job or a government job. House was also considered as one of the aspects. Things have changed now. It's an on-demand economy. So I think the person who's asked the question, Mr. Sharma, is absolutely right. I believe that the rental market would grow, but affordable segment is a segment where the benefits, I don't know how long the government would actually continue it for, in terms of subsidies on interest rates, and obviously how fast the loans can be disbursed to these, and how fast developers can actually build it. So I believe the demand-supply gap, the bend would be more towards rental as compared to buying of new homes.
There's Mukesh. Anyone else wants to take that query? Okay. There's Mukesh Arora of Gurugram who says, I have always lived in shared rental space, and with the current situation forcing us to maintain social distancing, does it really make sense to live in shared rental spaces? How do you afford individual rental spaces? Will companies consider this? Now, Ashwin handles 25,000 and more per month. There is a very large volume of people in the city. They can be young adults working in BPOs, working, first jobs and so on, who earn 15 to 20,000, and they would be paying 6, 7. Their capacity to pay comfortably would be 6, 7, 8,000, and that's where shared rental accommodation comes in. Even co-living spaces is banking on that. That is the space where social distancing becomes difficult, right?
Yeah, I think absolutely, and that's from where this conversation started today. With you joining, that what happens in the co-living scenario. Now, people don't even have written contracts, you see, and it's largely on trust. Nobody issues a receipt. It's cash payment going as rentals. If somebody wants, landlord wants, he can ask anybody to leave tonight. Forget about the lockdown. Nobody is bothered where it's going. There is no TDS deduction. There is no track record of rental receipts, no taxation or anything. So that is the reason that this, whatever COVID-19 has presented itself to all of us in our lives, it is important to also realize that for every service that you use, even if it is renting a property, there has to be a written contract. And while that contract needs to be there, I mean, imagine 2 decades in the industry, most of these youngsters who lease out accommodations don't even know who the actual owner is. If I am Mr. Girish, and I'm leasing out a room in my house, nobody cares who the actual owner is. Nobody cares about the documentation, the title due diligence, or anything. It's just a 6,000-7,000 rupees, half a bed kind of a sharing that is there. And largely for these youngsters, most important bit is to actually start moving into the house and join the work, because if that gets delayed, then again it's a problem whether the job would actually remain or not. But having said that, my advice to all co-living and youngsters picking up accommodations is to definitely sign a contract. And happy to help. In fact, this conversation today has given us insights that we should actually plan something for this segment as well, which is digital signatures, and obviously having clauses directly embedded which talks about COVID-19 scenarios, and no exits from towards the bend by the owner side. I mean, let the owners not only decide as to who stays and who goes out, but everybody, both, as I said, are in the same boat, and this should be clearly written in the contract.
Right. And I'm going to take one more query. Vinay, somebody has asked, you talked about bulleted payments. What is that? Would you care to explain?
About the bulleted payment?
That's right.
Yeah, so bulleted payment is the payment that you do. So, for example, if you took 50,000 rupees and you pay that 50,000 rupees after 3 months in one shot, so that's bulleted payment. The other option is to kind of pay it out in easy installment for 3 months or 6 months. So that's the difference between bulleted and So some people would have, the money, and they want to kind of keep some money to kind of make sure that they tide over this,
Yeah.
just for safety. And then they want to kind of, once they get onto their jobs or whatever, or their cash flow starts to get in, they can decide to kind of give this money off in one shot. So a lot of people do that.
I've just got one more query. Rahul Sharma of Delhi says, is there any online platform where tenants can borrow to pay their rents till they are facing financial issues? That's exactly what Vinay has been talking about. Faircent has come up with an offer where you can take 25,000 to 75,000 rupees for a period of 3 to 6 months, right, Vinay?
Yeah.
And that's
First 3 months is moratorium. So
Yeah.
you don't have to pay the first 3 months.
Yeah.
And post that, it's for 3 months and 6 months. So it's technically 6 months and 9 months.
and you can pay this off in installments or one shot, depending
One shot.
on whatever it is. Now I'm going to take some closing comments from you, Ritika. In the rental market, how do you see this evolving? What is it what interventions are you looking forward to?
I'm hoping that there's some clarity on the various government orders that give some relief to some tenants, whereas maybe that may not be as beneficial to landlords as it is to tenants. But in the market that we are today, it's probably it may be something that would work and would be beneficial, even though if it's a small waiver or a short term deferment, if not a waiver, that would certainly help ease out the next few months that will come. In the long run, hopefully, the Model Tenancy Act will come, which will help, balance the equation between landlords and tenants and make things smoother in the longer run.
Sure. Ashwin?
Well, my last thoughts on the issue is that as per a Times of India report, the 66% of country's court cases today, belong to real estate sector. It's a very sad scenario for a beautiful country like ours, and things need to change. More and more adoption of technology in terms of verifications also allow owners to get recognition. Maybe they negotiate for a better rental. So my advice to everybody as tenants or as landlords is to use technology, ease your life, and allow both sides to actually work in a manner in which it's comfortable to each sides. Once you lock down, on a rental aspect, let's say that both parties freeze on a particular rental, then it's a 11-month or a 2-year long lease, and it's all about comfort level. One needs to allow any kind of delays to help each other. Maybe it's a problem with the owner that he cannot set right the water, for example, or there is a government issue of power, for example. So both sides need to actually help each other. It's a marriage for 11 months to as high as 2 to 3 years. It's always better to work along with each other.
Right. Vinay, your closing comments?
See, I think as we go along, the way the rentals are going to be put out to people will change. I feel people will have a lot of components added to their offering, which social distancing could be one of them, and thereabouts. How the things, how to keep things clean and tidy and all of that. Basic hygiene needs to be maintained. All of that has to be there, and that's something that offering will come from the I think the supply side. And because of that, there would be some finances required at that point in time for those people to kind of get that going for them. And this will definitely increase the rentals, for the other side, for the demand side. Though the rental increase will be there in terms of demand, but it will also be costly is what I feel, because people who will offer something which is very, very good, that offering will come, I'm sure, because there will be a choice between the customer at the end of the day, whether I want to kind of get into a place which is hygienic, which is a little, which gives me that social distancing, all of that is there. I'd rather choose that than something which is very, very basic. So that will shoot the prices up. And in both cases, I think loans can always help you out.
And I have a lot of queries of people who are saying, how do you see the rental market coming along? Now, the purpose of this show was to help people understand that there is help, on its way, whether it is in terms of money, in terms of digital extensions, in terms of figuring out how you can manage this period with your landlord, your tenant, and so on. The purpose of this show was that, and not to speculate how a rental market is going to perform. Today we are still in the lockdown phase. This is the first phase. After this, our economy has to pick up. We have to come back to some semblance of normalcy, which is going to be a long haul. It's not something that goes away today or tomorrow. However, the fact that there is money that can be lent to you with a 3-month moratorium and then payable 3 to 6 months after that, which means about 9 months are taken care of. The fact that there is digital, you can escrow accounting is possible, so that your the deposit that you've given to the landlord cannot turn away and say, I don't have money. So therefore, I think that what you really need to know is that this is a period where everybody seems to be finding solutions and working with each other. And this is part of our ongoing series of dialogues where we're trying to pick up today's issues and deal with it today. But do I want to speculate on how the markets will perform tomorrow? It's too early to say. And actually, there are many pundits out there already speculating. I don't want to join those fights. Thank you so much for watching the Property Show. I'm Jayashree Gaurav.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for having us.
Thanks.